off today, so we have not connected yet to Jim Bell in Korea. We'll try to make sure we get him on here in the next hour or so to give you a halfway decent spot of what to expect. Olympics been a big theme today, big part of the program. A little of this, little of that, and a couple of others, with the Cavaliers and with Derek Jeter and SI and a couple of, I'm into this Federer scenario. The Philadelphia thing I find interesting, too, with this fan base. But, and remember, the Sixers did come from Syracuse, so maybe there's something to that. But the Warriors at the time. The bottom line is the Olympics tonight, they begin. It's a delay because the opening ceremonies begin tonight, but it's a huge delay. It aired, it was last night, 14-hour time difference, and the Olympics will then really kind of kick off in earnest here in the next day or so with all the events live in some departments between that window of 10 a.m. and 2 o'clock in local time, and which is about 8 o'clock nighttime the night before for us. So we'll see how many people get into it. Some people seem really ready to go. Other people don't. Some people like the athletes. They like the sports they're not that familiar with. They love watching it. Other people can't deal with it. No hockey, no Russia as a big opponent. Basically would turn it off. It's programmed for the females. I know Cindy in Massachusetts didn't like that characterization, but that's true. It is not programmed for men. It is programmed for the family viewing. And obviously, when it comes to family viewing, that's a female-oriented deal. The men watch sports. That's not family-oriented. That's not programming that's programming for men. This is programming for women. And they hope the men latch on in the middle of February. And the kids come, and they make the cookies, and they get the chocolate milk out, and they throw in a little Marshalls on the fire, and they sit there every night, 8 o'clock, and watch Mike Tirico. I mean, that's what NBC wants you to do. They want to make it appointment television. We'll see if they are successful. Again, the Winter Olympics is a harder sell than the Summer Olympics. There's not as many sports. Obviously, not nearly as many countries that are involved. It's a little trickier, but we'll see how successful they are. We'll try to get somebody on here before the end of the day. Let's get right back to the calls. We go to Poughkeepsie, New York, and we saw little Graham, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Graham, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
Hey, how's it going, Bud?
Fine, Graham. Thank you. What's on your mind now? Let me hear.
I'm going to be into the Winter Olympics a little bit. I'm going to mostly be watching the men's halfpipe. Shaun White is a badass. I'm sure a lot of young guys like myself are going to be watching the men's halfpipe, but I think even an old man like you can get into it.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
are incredible.
I'll try to get into it. I'll keep an eye on it, I guess. I think the X Games it's past its prime, but I'll try to watch it a little bit. I don't know if I'll make it appointment television, but if I do see it, I wouldn't turn it off. I don't know when those finals are. I can look at the days, but I get your point. You're into that. So that is one Olympic event you like. Anything else that you like? How about the women's skating and all those kinds of things? We lost him. Graham was there, and he said goodbye, so he likes the halfpipe. Here's Brendan in New Hampshire. Brendan, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
Pretty good, doggy. A long time no talk.
Good to have you aboard, Brendan. Nice to have you with us. What's on your mind today? Fire away.
Okay, I got a little bone to pick with, I guess with one of your callers about a good hour ago.
Yep.
He made a comment about why would he want to tune in and watch some spoiled rich kid from Breckenridge ski race.
Yeah, that was a tough comment. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, you didn't comment on that. You kind of let that drop. I don't think you would agree with a comment like that. I'm into ski racing. I live in New Hampshire. My kids ski raced all their lives. I'm into it now. So that's what I gravitate towards with Winter Olympics. But and then you mentioned, who knows? Nobody knows any names.
Well, we don't have any. I think what he meant, the caller, getting back to that, was there's not a minority there's not a lot of minority. There's no minorities who participate in this event. Because if you're gonna learn how to be a big skier, that's a unbelievably. There's a variety of reasons. Location, it's expensive. Let's be honest. The Winter Olympics, it's cold weather. You got to be drawn to it. I mean, if you want mass participation, Brendan, you're not going to get that in the Winter Olympics. You would agree with that, right?
If you want man participation?
Mass participation.
Mass. Yeah, I get that because there's a lot of people who can't identify with a lot of these sports. Like I can't. I can't identify to curling. I've never been a figure skater. I've been a hockey player my whole life, so I could identify with that.
Well, are you gonna have a problem watching a hockey with the U.S. the players not playing?
Yeah, I'll watch it, but it's not like it's going to be the 1980 Olympics. And like one of your other callers said, we don't have a villain here. We don't have a a team to really root against. So yeah, that affects viewership. But but what I wanted to say was, besides that comment about the guy who said that about rich kids from Breckenridge, I do know some of these racers, and they come from a very, very humble background.
Do they really? I mean, where did they get the finances to go out there and start a skiing career then?
Well, they do it through fundraising.
Right.
They do it through just hard work and being noticed.
But who bought their first set of skis when they were 10 years old or 5 years old?
But like Bodie, he used to get dropped off at the mountain in the morning, and he'd ski there with
but who bought those skis? Those skis and lift tickets are humongously expensive. Who did that for him?
Well, yeah, they're all sponsored now. I mean,
but they wanted 8 years. But Brendan, at 5 years old, somebody had to drive him to a ski slope, buy ski tickets, give him ski lessons, and give him a pair of skis. That costs money. A lot of it.
Well, with Bodie, they didn't even give him lessons. He just figured it out, but not everybody does. But, the other thing I wanted to talk about was what draws me to the Olympics, which is, to me, is different than the rest, than professional sports. And I watch everything. I mean, I watch anything competitive. I'm a customer. But with Olympics, a lot of these kids, they train their entire lives. From when, you've seen some of these backstories. They start out when they're 3 and 5 and 7. And their families move and all this stuff, and to train and give up all of their social life, what a normal kid would have, to perform at a venue like this, if they're one moment to shine. And let's face it, a lot of these sports, they're not going to get a big contract. They're not going to be set for life.
No, I understand. It's a nice feel-good story, but that doesn't mean I have to watch, Brendan, because, in fact, they, had a lot of sacrifices. It's a different niche sport. That doesn't mean I got it. That should not force me to watch the event because some luge person from the middle of nowhere, gave up everything at 10 years of age to participate in a sport that's not a big revenue producer. And what's he going to do with it after he wins the gold medal? I mean, I know that people want you to think that, who follow those sports. Boy, what a dedication it took. It's not mass appeal. I didn't tell them to participate. So I always have a little issue with that from that perspective. Here's Johnny in Massachusetts. He's with us on Mad Dog Unleashed. John, good afternoon. How are you today? John, you there? Take it away, pal. What's on your mind? Fire away.
Me?
Yes, it's up to you, John. Your turn.
Right.
How are you?
How you doing? I'm just calling in. I had a story of a couple Olympics ago that was very similar to what you were talking about. I've always felt that. I heard this once, and I think it's so true. The Olympics is sports for people who don't like sports. And I was in a graduate school program at the time where I was outnumbered men to women, probably six or 7 to 1 in all of the classes that I took. And the women in the classes used to tease me because of how much I talked about sports, and I was working for the athletic department when I was going to school there. And but when the Olympics rolled around, they were hugely into it. I mean, they were watching absolutely everything, not just the figure skating. They were watching the luging and the bobsledding and the skiing and all of that stuff. And they were, trying to have conversations with me about it in class. I'm like, I'm not watching this stuff. I'm not watching this stuff at all. And they were stunned, and they were totally into it. And I think you're totally right about what you're saying. I mean, it doesn't make you prejudiced or anything like that. Just, the television networks, NBC especially, they're paying a boatload of money for this programming. They know who's going to watch, and they make sure that they've got it at times that women are watching television. That's totally how they engineer everything. And it hasn't failed them yet, right?
No, it hasn't. Their idea, folks, is to sell those commercials. That's their idea. Make money. And if not make money, break even. They're not going to break even appealing to Christopher Russo. They're going to break even appealing to the females out there. That's fact. You can't argue it. That's the way it is. And again, I don't want to be treated as an un-American if I'm not going to get into Shaun White. That's the way it goes. Don't tell me, well, who are you? How do you not get into this? You're un-American. Nonsense. That means nothing to me. To me, it's sport. But, it's will I be drawn to it occasionally? I probably will. 13 after the hour here on Mad Dog Unleashed.